As the Romans build and climb, we're going to take you on a journey back in time.
This is the Elegant Homes Podcast with your home improvement expert, Don Riley. Don gives you weekly tips on the biggest investment you'll ever make, your home. Plus, Don talks to industry's leading professionals to make your home elegant. The Elegant Homes Podcast with Don Riley is powered by Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky.
Welcome back to another episode of Elegant Homes. I'm your host, Don Riley, where we make every home elegant, one home at a time. And it is that season, and we're talking everything home improvements today. And today we're going to take a little journey, as I call it, and we're going to take you down the history of the home improvement industry. And most people don't realize the history of the home improvement industry, and it defined an era through all of our lives. And you know, the amazing thing about home improvements is almost all of us have a little home improvement in our soul, right? So we've all fixed something. We've all either owned a home or have rented a home, so we know what it's like to, you know, fix something on a home. So but we're going to take you on a little journey today. Most people don't realize the home improvement industry basically started in 1914. So this when the housing market kind of broke out and really overtook our country, 1914 to 1960. You can Google it. The University of Chicago did a study on home improvement, and it talks all about, if you look up the University of Chicago and the history of the home improvement industry, it'll tell you a little bit about how things have evolved over the years, from foundations to structures to metal structures to solid beams to infrastructure of the whole building process. The way we fasten things today, heat loads, compounding, weight loads. I mean, all these things you can read about in the University of Chicago's article. And that's from 1914 to 1960. And that time was very, very crucial in the home improvement business because it really showed us how innovative we are as people, as a country, and what we can do if we put our mind to it. Now, if we really want to go back in history, the great temples of Rome were built out of concrete and block, right? So they were really the pioneers of the building industry. Of course, that's going way back to old Rome. And some of these pyramids, I don't know if you history buffs out there have watched any of the History Channel, but I'm a geek when it comes to that stuff. I love watching, you know, these old Roman soldiers build these temples, and man, I mean, they would cut into the hillside and take rock and stone and make some of the beautiful structures you ever seen in your life. And like I said, over time things have evolved, and now we have power tools. Can you imagine if the Romans would have had power tools, what these temples would have looked like? I mean, we would have had rounded edges. We would have had buckled corners. I mean, these guys could have routed out windows. I mean, so, you know, if you really wrap your head around the history of home improvement, it goes all the way back to ancient Rome, right? So, which is so cool. But as we move forward, we progress. The home improvement business, like I said, has changed. So today we got power tools. Power tools really changed the industry in so many ways, and it carved a new path for the next generation to be more efficient on jobs, to be more solid on jobs, to give us a quicker start and a quicker finish on jobs. It gave us more of a timeline to finish jobs and get them on schedule and on time. And, you know, and the one thing that I love about this industry, and, you know, this industry's been in me since I was a little guy, and I always knew I was going to do something with building or home improvement because I was so fascinated, even as a kid, with my building blocks and, you know, just putting things together. And of course, I became a teenager and I wanted to work with my friends' dads who were builders and carpenters, and We would do summer projects, and we'd put I'd carry big heavy posts and help them put them in the ground for decks and these things that really defined me at a very young age. And we've lost that in this country a little bit about our younger generation. So one of the things that's so important to me, and we're working on it now, I'm trying to bring back to help these younger kids, and I love that Home Depot has these what we call building sessions, where they bring kids in. They bring all these kids in. They just had one yesterday. So we need more of that in this country. We need this younger generation to grasp on to the trades and learn how to build things and learn how to use your hands. God gave us these 10 fingers, right? And these 2 hands, and they were meant to be used. And today we don't use our hands like we did, like the Romans did. It's crazy, but if you look at photos of the Romans' hands and you look at photos of our hands today, it really shows you how hard they work compared to how hard we work today, right? So I think today, we use the mind a little bit more, which is okay, but, our bodies are built to be physical, right? If you really think about it, take just a moment. I want you to just grab that. I want the audience right now to just grab that and stick that in your brain. This body is built to be physical, right? And I think that's why we have so many health issues today in our industry with diabetes and the cancers and all these things, because we don't use our bodies the way that our ancestors did, right? They're carrying pillars and stones, and they're using their bodies. They're being physical. They're sweating. They're getting all these toxins and poisons out of their body. And we don't do that today. And that's why we're obese. That's why we're heavy. That's why we don't really use our temples, our bodies, to the way we should use our bodies. And we got to be more physical. And we got to teach this younger generation to use these 10 fingers and these 2 hands that God gave you, right? He gave you these to pick things up and be physical and move things around and move your body. And we're not teaching that. And guess what? When we're doing this, that's not using our bodies. That's using our fingers, but we're not, we're using our brains. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But if you're going to do this all day, then at night, you need to do this. You need to run. You need to be more physical. And I'm not just talking about for the home improvement industry. I'm talking about everything in your life. You need to be more physical. And as I get older, I try to be more physical. I try to do more things physical. Even if I don't physically do the work, I try to either get in the gym or do something to use my body and push my muscles and move my body, because the body is the central thing that controls our thinking process, how everything in our body. So I'm not trying to give you a health lesson today. I know it sounds like that, but what I'm saying is the Romans, this old home improvement generation, they used their bodies, and they didn't have low testosterone. They didn't have diabetes. I'm sure they did, but they didn't have it to the mass that we have it today in our country. So I didn't mean to dive off course there, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about that because that has a lot to do with the home improvement industry. Today, our younger generation doesn't want to be physical, okay? And if we lose the ability to be physical, we're going to lose the ability to be home improvement. We're going guys, and we're going to lose the ability to build things. And then machineries and tools are going to come in, and they're going to build these things. We're going to start building houses inside buildings. And that's going to change things to a big degree. And I think we still have to physically measure things and cut things and place things and build things. So I want you to wrap your head around that. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. And we're talking everything home improvement and the history of the home improvement business. We'll be right back. Are you looking for that new truck, maybe that new Silverado, or maybe even that new Trail Boss? I'm telling you, those new Trail Boss look really good. You got to stop out and see my good friend Rob Marshall at Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky. Their team is bar none the best. I bought all my vehicles for the Elegant Home Podcast right there, and I'm telling you, these guys get it done. Have you looked at their social media lately? They are shipping vehicles out the door left and right, and I'm telling you, their vehicles are top notch. I love Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky, and I'll tell you why. They treat me and the Elegant Home Podcast like family. So stop out and see Rob and the gang, and they'll take care of you. And make sure you tell them that Don Riley, and I'm going to say it again, Don Riley from the Elegant Home Podcast sent you and your family to Rob Marshall Chevrolet in Carrollton, Kentucky.
The Marshall Auto Group has grown into one of the largest dealer groups in the state of Kentucky, and we're right in your backyard. With locations in Dry Ridge, Crittenden, and Florence, we're convenient and easy to get to. Plus, we have hundreds of new and used vehicles priced to make it worth your drive. We're a family-run business, making us easy to deal with. Come see us. Marshall Dry Ridge Toyota, Marshall Chrysler Dodge, Jeep and Ram, Marshall Motors of Florence, and Marshall Power Sports. The Marshall Auto Group, easy to get to, easy to deal with.
Welcome back to Elegant Homes. We took a short break there. I'm Don Riley, your host, and is amazing. You start talking about the home improvement industry, and you really get into the history of the home improvement industry. And like I said, we're going all the way back to ancient Rome, man, and it's amazing. And me and Tony Bender and Chris, our camera guy, was talking about, the fun part of this episode, putting some of this together. But if you really think about it, I mean, watching and learning about how the Romans built some of the most prestigious temples in the world. I mean, it blows you away. But also too, if you think about it, the Great Wall of China. Can you imagine building the Great Wall of China? Bringing all that block and all that stone in and concrete, and that structure is still standing today, gorgeous and beautiful. So it just tells you the quality of the build and the ingenuity of these folks, and the achievement to build something like that, the feeling they must have felt to stand back and have miles and miles of this great wall built. I mean, come on. I mean, that had to give them a feeling of accomplishment, because I know what it's like just stepping back and looking at a small project that I've done and the accomplishment. And we were just counting the other day. I have over 670 projects that I've personally have out there in the marketplace. Big projects, decks, or, additions that we've done over, course of, a lot of years. And I was looking back, and, that's accomplishment. That's laying a body of work down. And when you lay down a body of work, it doesn't matter what that body of work is, whether it's home improvements, entertainment, singing, music, it's a body of work, right? And so that's something that I can take with me as a legacy, right? All these things I've done over the years and all these projects I've managed and put together, that is a body of work. And when you lay down a body of work, not only do you get a sense of pride and commitment to that project, but you get this overwhelming feeling of joy, right? So I can only imagine building a Great Wall of China and being an engineer, or one of these people at that time. They probably weren't called engineers, but they were an engineer. They were leading the pack, and pushing the men and women to build this Great Wall of China. It's just like we do today. We're pushing our men to build a deck, or a construction job. We're building a building, or whatever we're doing. We're pushing. We're the innovators. We're the drivers. We're the creators. So it's almost like when an artist takes out a paintbrush and he dips his paint into the bucket, right? And he swishes it around, and then he dips for the first time. He makes that first stroke, right? It's the same thing on a home improvement job. As you make that first stroke, you drive that first nail, right? And you put two pieces of wood together and you drive that first nail, and guess what? You're like, here we go. And when that portrait's done with that artist, he stands back and smokes his pipe or takes a drink of his tea. Wow, that's a piece. That's a masterpiece, right? It's the same thing in the home improvement business. I stand back and I go, we did it, guys. Look at this project. We can show before and afters, and it's a sense of accomplishment. And then you go on to the next project, right? You just keep driving and keep going forward. And once again, I'll say it again, it's a body of work, right? We're laying down a body of work. This podcast that we're doing, it's a body of work. Every time we come in here and film something, it's a body of work. And that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to lay down bodies of work. We're trying to educate people. We're trying to show them good, positive vibes. And we're trying to make the world a better place. So hopefully today you learned a little bit about the home improvement industry. If you haven't, do yourself a favor. Start Googling some of these things that I talked about. Look at the era from 1914 to 1960 in the home improvement business. You can go to the University of Chicago's website. It tells all about the home improvement and how that time changed the home improvement industry. Read about it. I don't have time to go over all that with you today, but if you do yourself a favor, just read it. If you have any questions, reach out to us, send us an email, hit us up on social media. We're on TikTok, we're on YouTube. Send us a link, send us a message. Be more than happy to respond to you. But I want to thank you today for listening to the Elegant Home Podcast, and we're trying to change the way that you look at home improvements 1 week at a time. So until next time, I'm your host, Don Riley, where we make every home elegant, one home at a time. We'll see you soon.